isang shopping mall sa Peru bumagsak.
May mga nakaligtas kaya sa trahedyang ito? Ang lagay po ng rescue operation ating aalamin maya-maya. Magandang gabi. Ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki Alagao Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong araw ng Lunes.
Japanese Defense Minister Nakatani binisita ang air surveillance radar sa Pilipinas.
Palau President Surangel Whips Jr. nakipagpulong kay Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. sa Malacanang.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky handang magbitiw sa pwesto para sa kapayapaan.
Elon Musk may paliwanag kung bakit magbabawas sila ng empleyado sa Doge.
At 7 katao namatay sa malawakang pagbaha sa Botswana. Binisita ni Japanese Defense Minister Gen Nakatani ang Naval Station Ernesto Ogbinara sa San Fernando City, La Union.
Layo ng pagbisita ng Japanese official na suriin ang mobile air surveillance radar system na pinadala ng Japan bilang bahagi ng isang landmark defense sa pagitan ng Pilipinas at Tokyo taong 2024. Noong December 2024, nagkasundo ang dalawang bansa sa isang 1.6 billion yen o $10.65 million na deal para palakasin ang maritime security at surveillance abilities ng Pilipinas sa gitna ng lumalalang tensyon sa West Philippine Sea. Binigyan diin ni Nakatani ang kahalagahan ng coastal radar system para sa pagpapaunlad ng maritime domain awareness ng Pilipinas. Noong July 2024, matatandaang nilagdaan ng Pilipinas sa Japan ang Reciprocal Access Agreement para payagan ang pagpapadala ng puwersang militar sa teritoryo ng isa't isa. Higit sa base sa La Union ay binisita rin ng Defense Minister ang Basa Air Base sa Florida Blanca sa Pampanga. Samantala, nakipagkita si Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. kay Nakatani para sa isang bilateral meeting sa Makati kaninang umaga. Sa pagpupulong, tinalakay ng dalawang opisyal ang issue ng China at ng ibang bansa na nagnanais pinsalain ang international order. Napag-usapan rin ni Teodoro at Nakatani ang ukol sa pagpapalakas ng alyansa ng Pilipinas at ng Japan.
This meeting was an exchange of views on regional security issues, on the Indo-Pacific, in the situation in the East Sea and the South China Sea, and most importantly, on our shared initiatives moving forward, not only on bilateral security enhancements, but also in promoting a sustainable, economically beneficial, and defense sustained defense industry partnership.
Sa bahagi naman ni Nakatani ay sinabi niyang handa ang Japan na palalimin pa ang bilateral cooperation nito sa Pilipinas sa pamamagitan ng pagpapalakas ng Operation Cooperation, pagtatag ng strategic dialogues at iba pa.
Dumating sa Pilipinas si Palau President Surangel Whips Jr. para makipagpulong kay Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. sa Malacanang. Si Whips ay mainit na sinalubong ni Pangulong Marcos kasama ang iba pang mga opisyal na bansa sa Kalayaan Grounds. Sa pagpupulong ng dalawang lider ng bansa ay nagpalitan ng pananaw sina PBBM at Whips ukol sa magiging bilateral cooperation ng Pilipinas at Palau sa fisheries, trade, investment, connectivity at people-to-people ties. Inaasahan naman na mas palalawigin pa ng Manila at Ngermunod ang kanilang kolaborasyon sa health at labor sectors.
Umaasa ang France na mas lalawig pa ang military cooperation nito sa Pilipinas matapos ang pagbisita ng French aircraft carrier na Charles de Gaulle sa Manila. Ayon kay French Ambassador to Manila, Marie Fontanelle, dumating ang French aircraft carrier sa Subic Bay nitong linggo. Anya, isang pahiwatig ito na committed ang Paris na makipagtulungan sa Pilipinas para isulong ang regional order sa Indo-Pacific region. Nilinaw naman ni Commander of the French Strike Force Rear Admiral Jacques Mallard na ang deployment ng aircraft carrier ay hindi isang provokasyon sa ibang bansa kundi ito ay pagpapakita ng freedom to sail sa rehiyon. Samantala, hinihintay naman ng France ang kasagutan ng Pilipinas na isinumite nilang draft ng Military Interoperability Agreement. Ayon kay Ambassador Marie Fontanelle, nanatili silang bukas para sa negosasyon kung ano ang ipagagawa ng Pilipinas na napapaloob sa Visiting Forces Agreement. Umaasa rin ang French envoy na tutugon din agad ang Pilipinas para sa mas magandang military partnership ng dalawang bansa.
Pinag-aaralan ngayon ng Pilipinas na mag-angkat ng liquefied natural gas o LNG mula Alaska. Kasabay ito ng anunsyo ni Pangulong Donald Trump na bubuhayin ng Washington ang $44 billion gas pipeline project ng Estados Unidos. Layo ng gas pipeline project na ito na makapagpadala ng halos 20 bilyong tonelada ng LNG taon-taon. Kinumpirma ni Philippine Ambassador to Washington Jose Manuel Romualdez ang planong ito ng Pilipinas para ma-develop ang energy sector ng bansa. Anya, umaasa si Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. na matatalakay ito kasama si President Trump para sa kolaborasyon ng Pilipinas at ang Estados Unidos.
Isinagawa na ng Department of Health ang nationwide anti-dengue drive ngayong araw ng Lunes, February 24, 2025. Ayon sa ahensya, kaninang hapon ay inilunsad nila ang alas 4 kontra mosquito drive. Higit sa 20 barangay ang nakiisa sa anti-dengue drive kung saan ay nagsagawa sila ng cleanup drive at mosquito fogging sa kani-kanilang mga lugar. Noong Biyernes kasi ay iniuulat ng Health Department ang pagpalo ng dengue cases sa Pilipinas sa 43,732 mula Enero hanggang Pebrero 15, 2025. Dagdag pa nila na 17 local government units mula sa Calabarzon, NCR at Central Luzon ang idineklara bilang dengue hotspots.
Unti-unti nang nakakalbo ang mga kagubatan sa Pilipinas. Ang katunayan po ay sinabi nga ni Environment Secretary Maria Antonio Yulo Loizaga na mula sa 15 milyong hektarya ng forests land mayroong bansa ay nabawasan pa ito sa 7 million hectares. Dahil rito ay binigyan diin ng kalihim na magpapatupad ang Department of Environment and Natural Resources ng inisyatibo para palawakin pa ang mga forest lands sa Pilipinas sa halos 10 milyong hektarya. Ayon sa kalihim, target ng ahensya nga makapagdagdag pa ng 3 milyong hektarya na forest land sa pamamagitan ng deforestation sa taong 2028. Umaasa rin si Loizaga na magiging matagumpay ang kanilang National Greening Program kahit nahaharap ang mundo sa climate change, biodiversity loss at polusyon.
Muling sasalubong ang taas sa presyo ng mga produktong petrolyo bukas, Pebrero 25. Bukas ay patutupad na ng mga oil industry firms ang 70 sentimos na taas sa kada litro ng gasolina. 40 sentimos naman ang dagdag sa presyo sa kada litro ng diesel, habang 20 sentimos naman ang price hike sa kada litro ng kerosene.
Naging unang aktibidad sa unang araw ng pangangampanya ni Senatorial Aspirant at Sagip Party List Representative Rodante Marcoleta ang pagbisita nito sa isang basket shop sa Angeles, Pampanga. Kasabay po nito ang pag-giit na dapat ay mapababan ang singil sa kuryente na malaki ang maitutulong sa pag-usbong pa ng mga negosyo na isa sa kanyang plataforma sakaling maluklok sa pagkasenador. Si Erlo Brigas po para sa balita.
Sa unang araw ng pangangampanya ni Sagip Party List Representative Rodante Marcoleta para sa pagkasenador, bumisita ito sa isang basket shop manufacturing sa Barangay Lara sa Angeles, Pampanga. Dito kinamusta ni Marcoleta ang industriya na kung saan isa sa pinagkukunan mapa-export ng mga basket-made products na gawa sa ratan, abaka at marami pang iba. Ayon kay Congressman Marcoleta, isa yan sa industriya na maipagmamalaki ng Angeles, Pampanga. Ine-export kasi sa ibang bansa ang mga produkto na kung saan ginagamit sa iba't ibang mga bagay. Mahalagaan yung mga ganitong industriya na nakapagbibigay oportunidad sa marami nating mga kababayan.
Talagang advocacy ko rito para matulungan natin yung mga negosyo sa ngayon at lalong-lalo na maengganyo natin ang marami pang gustong magtayo ng negosyo. Kailangan maibaba natin yung rate ng kuryente sa ating bansa. Alam mo kung bakit? Sapagkat tayo na ang pinakamataas na rate ng kuryente sa buong Asia. Maliwanag na hindi nasunod yung pangunahing layunin ng batas. Dapat malaman ng ating mga babayan, yung underlying objective ng EPIRA, ito yung Republic Act 9136, kinakailangan maidulot mo ang kuryente sa mga mamamayang Pilipino sa murang halaga.
Bukod sa karagdagang oportunidad, iginiit din ni Marcoleta ang pagkakaroon ng maayos na aspeto sa larangan ng pagninegosyo. Malaki din kasi ang maitutulong nito lalo na sa ekonomiya ng Pilipinas. Malaki din ang magiging ambag nito para mahikayat ang mga nais mag-invest sa bansa na mga foreign investors. Pero numero uno din sa ikinukonsidera ni Marcoleta ay ang pagkakaroon ng mababang singil sa kuryente ng Pilipinas. Malaki din kasi raw ang ambag nito sa industriya ng pagninegosyo dahil kung mas mababa ang singil sa kuryente, mas madaming output at mas maraming magiging kita ang isang negosyo na pakikinabangan din ng kanyang mga empleyado.
After 24 years, baligtad ang nangyari. Alam mo, pag naibaba natin ang presyo ng kuryente, sa aking palagay, yan ang inihintay ng mga negosyante. Kasi yung production cost, bababa. Kaya hindi natin maengganyo yung maraming gustong pumunta rito. Tingnan mo yung foreign direct investment. Talo tayo ng Vietnam eh. Ang Vietnam siguro nag-average ng $400 million. Tayo, masaya na tayo siguro sa $4 billion. O baka mas mababa pa. Anong nakalagay sa EPIRA? To ensure transparent and reasonable rates of electricity in a regime of free and fair competition and full accountability to obtain, sabi niyang ganon, greater operational and market efficiency.
Pero hanggat patuloy yung mataas na singil sa kuryente, hindi anya ito makakatulong sa ating bansa para makahikayat pa ng mga karagdagang foreign investor. Tayo na lang daw kasi sa Southeast Asia na may mataas ang singil sa kuryente. Kaya isa sa magiging plataforma ni Marcoleta ang mapababa ang singil sa kuryente sa bansa. Magiging domino effect anya ito kung maibababa ang singil sa kuryente, lalo pat makikinabang ang sektor ng pagnenegosyo, maging ang mamamayang Pilipino.
O pag naibaba ko yung presyo ng kuryente, baka mag-triple yung output ng mga kababayan at makapagtatayo sila ng maraming negosyo. Sino yung makikinabang? Mga Pilipino na naghahanap ng trabaho, dagdag na kita.
Erlo Bringas para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Susunod, China ay nakasuhan ng Australia na pinalalaki umano ang issue ng isinagawang Chinese naval drills.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky magbibitiw na nga ba sa pwesto?
At unofficial Presidential Counsel Elon Musk dinipensahan ng federal DOGE cuts. Yan at iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik ng mata ng Agila International.
Business.
It is a signal to the world we are open for business.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos. Every Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sunday 25.
Binati ng publiko sa harap ng Imperial Palace si Japanese Emperor Naruhito na nagdiriwang ng kanyang ika-65 kaarawan. Ayon sa Imperial Household Agency, mahigit 18,000 well-wishers ang pumila para lamang batiin ang Imperial family. Magkasamang pinasalamatan ni Emperor Naruhito at ng kanyang asawa na si Empress Masako ang mga tao sa harapan ng palasyo. Kasama rin nilang anak nilang si Aiko. Humarap din sa publiko ang kapatid ni Naruhito na si Crown Prince Akishino, Crown Princess Kiko at Princess Kako.
寒さの厳しい中、誕生日にこのように来ていただき、祝っていただくことをありがたく思います。全国各地の皆さん一人一人にとって穏やかな春が訪れるよう願っております。皆さんの
Sa gitna ng pagdiriwang ay nagpaabot din ng mensahe si Emperor Naruhito sa mga naapektuhan ng matinding taglamig sa Japan.
この冬はことのほか各地で大雪に見舞われており、皆さんのご苦労もいかばかりかと思います。雪の事故などで被害に遭われた方々に心からのお見舞いをお伝えいたします。
Sinabi naman ni Chinese Defense Ministry spokesperson Wang Qiyan na pinapalaki raw ng Australia ang issue tungkol sa live fire naval drills na ginawa ng Beijing sa international waters sa pagitan ng Australia at ng New Zealand. Wala umanong batayan at inconsistent din umano sa katotohanan ang mga pahayag ng Australia. Banat pa ni spokesperson Wu, umaasa sila nga magiging objective, rational, mas may katapatan at maging profesional ang Canberra ukol sa nasabing issue. Matatanda ang sinabi ni Australian Defense Minister Richard Marles noong Sabado na nabigo ang China na magbigay ng satisfactory reasons para sa live fire drills nito na naging dahilan kaya nag-divert ng flights ang Canberra. Subalit, paliwanag naman ni Wu, paulit-ulit na umano nga naglabas ng abiso sa pamamagitan ng isang post ang Chinese Defense Ministry na may isasagawa silang drills. Sumunod din nila ang Beijing sa international law at hindi rin umano nakaapekto ang kanilang naval exercises sa aviation flights ng Australia.
Handa si President Volodymyr Zelensky na magbitiw sa pwesto kapalit ng pag-anib ng Ukraine sa NATO.
Якщо мир для України, якщо вам дуже потрібно, щоб я залишив свій пост, я готовий. Друга історія, можу поміняти це на НАТО. Якщо є такі умови, одразу, щоб довго про це не говорити. Я фокусуюсь на безпеці України сьогодні, а не за 20 років. І не збираюсь бути у влади десятиріччя. Тому це, напевно, мій фокус і бажана мрія.
Sinabi mismo ni Zelensky na maliit na halaga lamang ang kanyang posisyon kapalit ng kapayapaan at kinabukasan ng kanyang mamamayan. Kasunod ito ng malawakang airstrike na isinagawa ng Russia kasabay ng pangatlong anibersaryo ng Russia-Ukraine War. Kasalukuyang nakikipagtipon ngayon si Zelensky sa mga Western leaders upang pag-usapan ang magiging post-war security ng Ukraine dahil sa pag-atras ng suporta ng Estados Unidos. Kasama nito si European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen at European Council President Antonio Costa sa pagtanggap ng 13 world leaders mula sa iba't ibang parte ng Europa para magsanib puwersa na suportahan ang Ukraine sa posibleng huling yugto ng gyera sa rehiyon. Ayon sa mga ulat ay dumalo rin si Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau sa naturang pagpupulong upang pag-usapan ang kinabukasan ng trade talks nito sa European Union sa harap ng tariff war ni Donald Trump. Inihanda naman ni Zelensky ang mga komento ni US President Donald Trump ukol sa pagiging diktador nito dahil sinabi niyang kapwa-diktador lang ang magagalit sa komento ni Trump.
Після закінчення воєнного стану будуть вибори. І люди зроблять свій вибір. Так, десятиріччя у владі не збираюсь бути. Але і Путіну бути при владі над територіями України не дамо бути. Ось і все. Тому і боремось. А слова вони пройдуть. А може і щось хороше колись скажуть.
Sa usapin naman ang rare minerals deal sa pagitan ng dalawang bansa, sinabi niyang may bagong kasundo ang nirerepaso ang kanilang mga gobyerno dahil mapapasama ang Ukraine sa usapang bayaran. Ani Zelensky, kapag binayaran nito ang Estados Unidos, ay mapipilitan itong bayaran ang lahat ng bansang nagbigay sa kanila ng suporta.
Займаємось цими питаннями, займаємось системами ППО і, чесно, займаємось українськими аналогами. Більше нічого не скажу.
Вітаю, пане президенте.
Щодо старлінків, то що, дивіться, натяків не було. В медіа це бачили. Повинні бути готові? Так. Відповідні інституції наші над цим працюють. Вважаю, що це відключати нас від старлінків неправильно, бо це йдеться мова про на сьогодні 45 тисяч систем.
Noong linggo, sinabi rin ni Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky na tila ang tingin ng mga delegado ni US President Donald Trump sa ceasefire ay pagwawakas lamang ng gyera sa pagitan ng Moscow at Kyiv. Ani Zelensky, hindi ganito kadali ang kaso. Rosel Feria po para sa balitang yan.
Sinabi ni Pangulong Volodymyr Zelensky na anumang mapagkasundoan ng Estados Unidos at Russia ukol sa pagwawakas ng labanan sa Ukraine ay hindi magtatagumpay kung hindi aayon ng Kyiv sa mga kondisyon. Dagdag ni Zelensky, ang ceasefire ay hindi pagtatapos ng gera.
І якщо Америка, я в це не дуже вірю, але все буває, домовиться з русскими про нас без нас, то успіху в цій угоді не буде, якщо ми потім не підтвердимо умови цієї угоди. Все.
Ani Zelensky, tila inaakala ng grupo ni Pangulong Donald Trump na ang ceasefire ang katumbas ng pagtatapos ng gera.
І я вважаю, що в їх просторі, в якому вони знаходяться, вони вважають, що це закінчення війни. І я навіть впевнений, що вони вважають, що це дійсно великий успіх і що Путін не ризикне піти знову. Ми вважаємо, що повинні гарантії безпеки. Так, ми розуміємо, що це дороговартісно і не так просто домовитись про ceasefire, тощо. І ми хочемо гарантувати безпеку для наших людей. Тобто,
para sa leader ng Ukraine, kung walang garantiyang pansiguridad para sa Ukraine, ito ay kawalan ng katiyakan para sa lahat.
це невизначеність. Невизначеність – це погано для всього світу. І від цього всі програють. Програємо ми, програють американці, тому що можна бути щасливим і чи можна виглядати переможцем, якщо ти зробив ceasefire, а через рік почалась війна. Ти переможець? Ні. А росіяни будуть готуватися і потім буде повторний наступ. Це дуже небезпечно для всіх.
Matagal nang hinihingi ng Kyiv ang pangmatagalang resolusyon sa labanan upang mapayapa ito dahil anya sa banta ng Russia na umataking muli. Ayon kay Zelensky, tinatrabaho ng Ukraine ang domestic alternatives para sa US-produced Patriot air defense system.
Займаємось цими питаннями, займаємось системами ППО і, чесно, займаємось українськими аналогами. Більше нічого не скажу.
At para kay Zelensky, wala itong planong manatili ng dekada-dekada sa pwesto. Ang nais lang nito ay huwag kontrolin ng Russia ang Ukraine.
Це закінчення воєнного стану будуть вибори. І люди зроблять свій вибір. Так, десятиріччя у владі не збираюсь бути. Але і Путіну бути при владі над територіями України не дамо бути. Ось і все. Тому і боремось. А слова вони пройдуть. А може і щось хороше колись скажуть.
Rosel Feria para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Inako ng gobyerno ng Poland ang pagbabayad sa Starlink subscription ng Ukraine. Sinabi ni Poland Deputy Prime Minister Krzysztof Gałkowski na patuloy na magbabayad ang kanilang gobyerno para sa Kyiv kasunod ng mga balitang puputulin na raw ng Estados Unidos ang access ng Ukraine sa satellite internet system ng Starlink na pagmamay-ari ni Elon Musk. Dagdag ni Gałkowski, ang Poland ang bumili ng Starlink para sa Ukraine at hindi raw makapaniwala ang kanilang gobyerno na puputulin ng iisang tao ang kanilang business contract para sa isang commercial service kung saan partidoan niya ang Poland. Hindi nagbigay ng pahayag ang SpaceX na siyang operator ng Starlink. Wala ring komento ang Ukraine ukol sa nasabing pahayag ng Poland.
Sa kabila naman ng paliwanag ni British Prime Minister Keir Starmer na sinusuportahan niya ang mga panawagan ng Estados Unidos para sa Europa na akuin nito ang mas malaking responsibilidad para sa seguridad nito, ay nanindigan siya na walang usaping pangkapayapaan sa pagitan ng Kyiv at Moscow kung wala ang Ukraine sa usapan. Mula pa sa London, England, Love and Season para sa report.
Sa isang conference sa Glasgow ay sinabi ni British Prime Minister Keir Starmer na walang magiging pag-uusap tungkol sa kinabukasan ng Ukraine kung hindi kasali ang Kyiv sa proseso ng usaping pangkapayapaan.
Peace only comes through strength. Nobody wants the bloodshed to continue. Nobody, least of all the Ukrainians. But after everything that they have suffered, after everything that they have fought for, there can be no discussion about Ukraine without Ukraine, and the people of Ukraine must have a long-term secure future.
Naging emosyonal si Starmer sa kanyang talumpati ng kanyang ikwento ang hindi niya malilimutang pagbisita sa Ukraine. Nakipag-usap-anya siya sa mga Ukrainians na nawalan ng pamilya at mga kaibigan sa digmaan. Idinitalye ng mga ito kung paano nila binuhat ang kanilang mga mahal sa buhay at inilibing. Binigyang diin ni Starmer na dapat palalimin pa ang pagkakaisa dahil hindi lang ito moral urgency kundi ito ay isang pambansang interes. Ipinunto pa ng opisyal ng magpapatuloy ang economic insecurity at pagtaas ng cost of living. Maliban na lamang anya kung mayroong isang resolusyon na patas para sa Ukraine. Ipinaalala rin ni Starmer na kailangang maging handa ang bawat isa na gampanan ang tungkulin na magpadalaan niya ng puwersa sa Ukraine kung kinakailangan.
Time to take responsibility for our security, our continent. And I'm clear that Britain will take a leading responsibility. We have to be ready to play our role if a force is required in Ukraine once a peace agreement is reached. And we have to be ready to reshape our economy with industrial policy, to stand up for Ukraine, to stand up for Europe, but most of all, to stand up for our security, because Ukraine is vital to us.
Makikipagpulong si Starmer kina French President Emmanuel Macron at US President Donald Trump ngayong Lunes, February 24 upang pag-usapan ang Ukraine-Russia war. Love and Season from London, United Kingdom para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Sa isang interview sa Conservative Political Action Conference ay binigyan diin ni Elon Musk ang kahalagahan ng Doge cuts. Si Lilans Baldos para sa detalye.
Ipinagtanggol ng tech billionaire na si Elon Musk ang Doge cuts na bahagi ng sweeping downsizing efforts ng Trump administration. Sinabi ni Musk na kailangan ipatupad ang Doge cuts para maipagpatuloy ang Medicare at Social Security programs sa United States. Dahil kung magiging insolvent aniya ang US at kung ang lahat ng pondo ay ginagastos lamang sa pagbabayad ng interes sa utang, wala na aniyang perang matitira. Ipinaliwanag din ni Musk na ang interes sa pambansang utang ay lampas na sa buong Defense Department budget. Wala niya ipinagkaiba ang bansa sa isang tao kung sobra ang paggastos ng isang bansa ay mababankrupt ito. Kaya mahalagaan niya na lutasin ang problemang ito ng United States.
That same question, they're also talking about you guys are going to end Social Security, you're going to end Medicare, you're going to end these things. I don't imagine that conversation has been had with the president, and that's the plan.
No, in fact, the actions that we're taking with the support of the president and the support of the agencies is what will save Medicare, what will save Social Security.
Yeah.
Because if the country goes insolvent, if all the money is just spent on paying interest on debt, there's no money left for anything.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I'm doing this, is because I was looking at the big picture here, and it's like, man, our debt's getting out of control. The interest payments, interest on the national debt now exceeds the entire Defense Department budget.
Gilans Valdos, para sa Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Inanunsyo ni U.S. Republican Senator Mitch McConnell na hindi na ito tatakbo pa sa anumang posisyon sa susunod na taon.
To the distinguished members of this body, I've had the privilege to lead, and I remain deeply, deeply grateful. Today, however, it's appropriate for me to speak about an even deeper allegiance and even longer-standing gratitude. 7 times, my fellow Kentuckians have sent me to the Senate. Every day in between, I've been humbled by the trust they placed in me to do their business right here. Representing our Commonwealth has been the honor of a lifetime. I will not seek this honor an 8th time. My current term in the Senate will be my last.
Isinabay ng tinaguriang longest Senate party leader ang anunsyo sa kanyang 84th birthday. Si McConnell po ay isa sa mga senador na hindi pumapabor sa ilang programa ni US President Donald Trump. Nagpaabot naman ng pagbati ang kapwa nito mga senador sa desisyon ng Kentucky Senator sa tuluyang pagre-retiro nito sa politika.
Regardless of the political storms that may wash over this chamber, during the time I have remaining, I assure our colleagues that I will depart with great hope for the endurance of the Senate as an institution. There are any number of reasons for pessimism, but the strength of the Senate is not one of them.
Sa kanyang state address ay hindi napigilan ni Democrat Governor J.B. Pritzker na kondenahin ang pamamalakad ng administrasyon ni U.S. President Donald Trump.
I just have one question. What comes next? After we've discriminated against, deported, or disparaged all the immigrants, the developmentally disabled, the women, and the minorities, once we've ostracized our neighbors and betrayed our friends, after that, when the problems we started with are still there staring us in the face, what comes next? All the atrocities of human history lurk in the answer to that question. And if we don't want to repeat history, then for God's sake, in this moment, we better be strong enough to learn from it.
Pinuntirya ni Pritzker ang mapang-aping polisiya ni Trump at ng Immigration and Customs Enforcement o ICE para sa mga migrant population na kasalukuyang naninirahan sa bansa. Nanindigan din ito na nanumpa siya sa harap ng kanyang mamamayan na ipaglalaban nito ang konstitusyon. Binuweltahan din ito ang presidente at ang partido nito kung saan sinabi niyang wala siyang intensyong maging kaalyado ni Trump dahil walaan niyang monarkiya ang kanyang bansa.
I swore the following oath on Abraham Lincoln's Bible. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of governor according to the best of my ability. My oath is to the Constitution of our state and of our country. We don't have kings in America, and I don't intend to bend the knee to one.
Inihambing din ito ang Republican Party sa dating rehime ng mga Nazi sa Germany kung saan sinabi niyang napakabilis lang na nawatak ng Nazi Party ng konstitusyon ng Germany at kung hindi magiging mapagmatsyag ang lahat ay nanganganib ang Estados Unidos na matulad sa pangyayari noon. Kinunde na rin ito ang tila walang sawang pagpupuri ng Republicans kay Donald Trump sa Conservative Political Action Conference. Sinabi ni Pritzker na tila mas importante pa na matalo ang Democratic Party kaysa sa tutukan ang mga pangunahing suliranin ng kanyang bansa.
If you think I'm overreacting and sounding the alarm too soon, consider this. It took the Nazis 1 month, 3 weeks, 2 days, 8 hours, and 40 minutes to dismantle a constitutional republic. And all I'm saying is that when the 5-alarm fire starts to burn, every good person better be ready to man a post with a bucket of water if you want to stop it from raging out of control.
Sa kanyang pagtatapos ay hinimok niya ang mga mamamayan na huwag matakot sa harap ng mga taong nais abusuhin ang kanilang posisyon upang maisulong ang kanilang pansariling interes. Iginiit din ito ang importansya ng lakas ng loob at pagmamalasakit at prinsipyo para sa mga problemang paparating.
Tyranny requires your fear and your silence and your compliance. Democracy requires your courage. So gather your justice and humanity, Illinois, and do not let the tragic spirit of despair overcome us when our country needs us the most. Thank you.
Susunod, sex trafficking ring sa Espanya huli.
Mineral deal ng Estados Unidos at Ukraine matutuloy kaya?
At handa na ba ang Gilas Pilipinas para sa FIBA Asia Cup? Mga detalye po ng mga balita niyan at iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Mula sa Net25 News, ako po si Alex Santos.
At ako naman po si Ali Soto.
Matatag, matapang at matapat na balitaan.
Yan ang aming ihahatid Lunes hanggang Biyernes.
Alas 6 hanggang alas 7:30 ng gabi. Mata ng Agila Prime Time. Dito sa Net25.
Let's net together. Sa Net25. Sa Net25.
Nagbabalik ang Mata ng Agila International at sa pagpapatuloy po ng ating mga balita ngayong gabi. Bumagsak ang bubong ng isang shopping mall sa Peru kung saan 8 katao ang nasawi habang nasa 82 naman ang sugatan dahil sa insidente. 48 mula sa mga nakaligtas ay nananatiling na sa mga ospital para magpagaling sa kanilang mga pinsalang natamo sa kanilang mga katawan. At batay po sa inisyal na investigasyon, pinaniniwala ang bumigay ang metal structure ng bubong dahil sa malakas na pag-ulan. Iniulat naman ni Luis Roncal, ang head ng local fire department, na nasa higit 100 bumbero ang rumisponde sa operasyon. Nag-deploy na rin sila ng rescue dogs para tumulong sa paghahanap ng mga survivors na naipit sa mga debris. Ipinaabot naman ni Peruvian Defense Minister Walter Astudillo ang kanyang pakikiramay sa mga pamilya ng mga nasawi.
Lubog sa baha ang maraming lansangan sa Botswana matapos ang walang tigil na pag-ulan sa bansa. Ayon sa emergency services ng Botswana, 7 katao na ang kumpirmadong namatay dahil sa sama ng panahon. Suspendido na rin ang lahat ng pasok sa mga paaralan sa Botswana at isinara na rin ang mga daan para sa kaligtasan ng mga motorista. Iniulat ng lokal na pamahalaan ng Gaborone na umaapaw na mga dama sa syudad at inilikas na rin ang higit sa 1,000 mga residente na na-stranded.
Isang sex trafficking ring na bumibiktima ng higit sa 1,000 kababaihan ang hinuli ng kapulisan sa Spain noong linggo. Inaanyayahan nito ang mga kababaihan na magtungo sa Espanya para magtrabaho. Agila Guzman po para sa balita niyan.
Akala ng higit 1,000 kababaihan na nire-recruit sila para magtrabaho ng disente sa beauty at cleaning sector sa Spain. Subalit kalaunan, sex trafficking pala ang kahihinatnan ng kanilang mga pag-asa. Noong linggo, nahuli ng Spanish police ang operasyon na bumibiktima ng mga kababaihan na karamihan ay mula sa Venezuela at Colombia. Ayon sa Spanish National Police, pagdating ng mga ito sa Spain, dinala sila sa clubs kung saan sila ay trinapiko at pinagtrabaho sa lahat ng oras. 2 oras kada araw lang pinalalabas ang mga ito at laging naka-video surveillance. Ang 3 ringleaders, 2 Colombian at 1 Spaniard ay kasama ng 48 suspect na inaresto sa raid sa Alicante at Murcia sa katimugang Spain. 3 strip clubs din ang sinara kaugnay ng operasyon. Nakakuha rin ang mga pulis ng halagang $157,000 na cash, block bank accounts na may lamang higit sa $980,000 at 17 properties. 6 sa mga suspect ay ikinulong kaugnay ng pre-trial detention. Ang iba naman ay nagpiyansa at haharap sa paglilitis kalaunan. Agila Guzman para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Dumaan ang kinilalang world's largest vehicle carrier ship sa Panama Canal, ang Aurora. Ayon sa Panama Canal Authority, ang naturang vessel ay kayang magdala ng halos 9,100 sasakyan. Mula rito ay pinapakita ang kahalagahan ng Panama Canal sa global maritime trade. Matatandaang nagsalita si US President Donald Trump na babawiin ito ang Panama Canal dahil sa alegasyon na ang kumukontrol nito umano ay ang bansang China. Itinanggi naman ng Panama ang alegasyon ukol sa foreign control at iginiit na nasa soberanya nila ito simula pa ng taong 1999. Higit sa alegasyon ni Pangulong Trump ay nakaaapekto rin sa issue ang pagtatalo sa halaga ng toll fee ng kanal. Sinasabi ng mga analysts na ang bayad para makaraan ay nakabatay sa international treaties at umiiral ito ng walang favoritism sa isang partikular na bansa.
Hoy es un día muy importante para el canal porque estamos recibiendo el buque portavehículos más grande del mundo. Este buque lleva aproximadamente 9,100 CEUs, en términos equivalentes sería la cantidad de autos que puede llevar dentro del buque.
Hindi pa rin magkasundo ang Washington at Kyiv sa pagbibigay ng access sa US sa likas na yaman ng Ukraine kapalit ng armas. Ito po ay sa kabila ng pahayag ni US President Donald Trump na malapit na umanong matapos ang kasunduan o sa kanyang salita ay pretty close to a deal. Ana Kui po para sa balitang yan.
Ayon sa mga ulat, batay sa proposed agreement, 50% share sa likas na yaman ng Ukraine ang mapupunta sa US. Ang proposal na ito ay inihain ni US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent sa Munich Security Conference. Sa isang updated version, hain ito ang isang commercial fund na hahawakan ng US na dapat hulugan ng Ukraine hanggang umabot ito sa $500 billion. Ayon sa mga report, sa kabila ng pagkumpirma ng Ukraine na natanggap na nito ang pinakahuling draft, nananatiling atubili si Pangulong Volodymyr Zelensky na lagdaan ang kasunduan. Ito ay dahil sa kakulangan anya ng garantiyang panseguridad para sa Ukraine. Kinumpirma ng tagapagsalita ng parlamento na si Ruslan Stefanchuk na isang Ukrainian expert group ang susubuhang tapusin ang deal. Binigyan diin ni Stefanchuk ang kagustuhan ng Ukraine na makipagtulungan ukol sa minerals deal, subalit nangangailangan anya ito ng garantiyang panseguridad. Ayon sa isang source, kulang ng binding commitments mula sa US at ilang mga pahayag sa draft ay may kalabuan. Nagsumite na ang Ukraine ng mga isyong nais nitong matugunan. Noong Biyernes sa Conservative Political Action Conference, sinabi ni Trump na gusto nitong ibalik ng Ukraine lahat ng nagastos ng US para rito sa labanan. Ani Trump, anuman ang maaaring mabawi. Ana Kui para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Inilabas na ng 1X Technologies ang kanilang latest model ng humanoid robot na kanilang ipinagmamalaki na makatutulong sa mga gawaing bahay. Kilalanin ng Neo Gamma ang successor ng Neo Beta humanoid. Ayon sa tech firm, kayang maglakad at magsalita ng Neo Gamma katulad ng isang tao. Equipped din ang robot ng large language model para sa human-friendly user interaction dito. Dinisenyo ang Neo Gamma mula sa nakalap na data ng Neo Beta model para sa mas mahusay na performance. Paniniwala ni Bernd Bornich, ang CEO ng 1X, na sa mga susunod na taon ay posibleng magkaroon ng bawat isa ng mga household robot helpers katulad ni Rosie the Robot at ni Baymax. Anya, mahalaga ang exposure ng humanoid robot sa pang-araw-araw na buhay ng mga tao para matuto ang kanilang artificial intelligence o AI. Inaasahan na lalabas din ang Neo Gamma robot sa Robotics Summit and Expo sa Boston sa darating na April 30 hanggang May 1, 2025.
Opisyal nang makakapaglaro ang Papua New Guinea team sa Australian National Rugby League sa taong 2028. Mula sa Port Moresby, narito ang report ni Eco Ortala sa Quinola.
Inilunsad kamakailan ang partnership ng Australia at Papua New Guinea bilang kasali sa National Rugby League or NRL. Nilagdaan ni na Prime Minister James Marape, Australian Ambassador John Feeks at NRL bid CEO Andrew Hill ang kasunduang ito ng dalawang bansa. May nakalaang $600 million budget na magmumula sa Australia para sa pagsasaayos, pagpapaganda at pagdaragdag ng iba pang mga pasilidad sa Sir Hubert Murray kung saan gaganapin ang larong pangmalakasang rugby. Ang Papua New Guinea naman ay maghahanda ng 150 milyong kina para sa paglalagakan ng mga dayuhang manglalaro, mga bisita at opisyales buhat sa Australia.
Sport brings people together, and of course in PNG it's a national sport and everyone loves rugby league, and so what we are really looking forward to is not just having a rugby league team but to give hope and aspiration and to unify the country.
Nagbigay ng iba yung saya, sigla at ningning ang paglulunsad ng partnership dahil sa pagdalo ni Cameron Smith, isang sikat na rugby player at ex-team captain ng Melbourne Storm. Ang mga manlalaro ng Papua New Guinea ay nagpakitang gilas din sa kanilang rugby exhibition na sinaksihan naman ng mga dumalong mamamayan. Ang kabisera ng bansa ang siyang magiging host city at naniniwala hihikayat ito ng malakas na tulak sa turismo at ekonomiya.
The city is ready for the NRL team, and in 3 years' time, I'm very confident that this endeavour that we're launching this evening will be a major success.
Sinisiguro ni Prime Minister James Marape at Governor Powes Sparkop ang seguridad ng mga dayuhang darating at magkakaroon sila ng maayos na pamamalagi at pakikipaglaro ng rugby sa mga Papua New Guineans.
Mula sa Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Eco Hortaleza Quinola para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Naitala sa kasaysayan ng tennis si rising star Mira Andreeva. Kasalukuyang si Andreev ang pinakabatang manlalaro na naipanalo ang isang WTA 1000 title. Nakamit ng 17 anyos na Russian player ang titulo matapos sa talunin si Clara Tauson sa Dubai Duty Free Tennis Championships. Tumagal ang laro ng 1 oras at 46 na minuto at nanalo siya sa scores ng 7-6, 6-1 sa finals. Sa edad nitong 17 years and 299 days ay umakyat ito sa top 10 ng world ranking. Pinasalamatan nito ang kanyang pamilya at koponan matapos na makuha ang tagumpay.
Nakatuon na ngayon ang atensyon ni Gilas Pilipinas head coach Tim Cohn sa FIBA Asia Cup sa buwan Agosto na magaganap naman sa Saudi Arabia.
At sa ibang balita, dahil sa winter season ngayon sa Estados Unidos ay maraming American Pelicans ang nag-migrate patungo sa Mexico City. Ayon kay Cesar Sanchez, ang director para sa Protected Natural Area sa siyudad ng Mexico, lumipad ng higit sa 4,000 kilometro ang mga pelicans para hanapin ang mainit na tubig at makakain para sa winter. Anya, hindi lamang galing Estados Unidos ang mga ibon, pati ang mga pelicans na galing Canada ay dumarayo rin sa kanilang siyudad. Paliwanag ng mga eksperto, taon-taon ay bumibisita ang mga nasabing ibon para makaiwas sa sobrang lamig ng klima sa Estados Unidos at Canada. Karaniwang pinupuntahan ng mga ito ay ang Xochimilco wetlands sa Mexico mula Nobyembre hanggang Abril. Ang wetlands ay may lawak na 36 hectares, angkop din para maging habitat ng mga ibon dahil sa magandang kalidad ng tubig at dami ng mahuhuling pagkain. Higit sa 200 mga pelicans ang naobserbahang dumayo patungo sa Mexico ngayong taon.
Históricamente y ancestralmente hubo una gran cantidad de lagos. Hay que recordar que el Valle de México en realidad fue un gran lago, ¿no? Y un conjunto de lagos y de canales, entre ellos el propio lago de Texcoco. Y esto forma parte de un proceso evolutivo donde las aves, a partir de generaciones, aprendieron a que hay que migrar hacia estos sitios donde las aguas son más cálidas.
Nasungkit ni Britain's ugliest dog at Deadpool star na si Peggy the Puggies ang top prize ng The Fido Awards, ang taunang canine equivalent ng Academy Awards. Nasungkit nga ni Peggy ang Best in World Award dahil sa kanyang pag-arte bilang si Dogpool sa pelikulang Deadpool and Wolverine. Ayon kay Fido organizer Toby Rose, maraming tao ang nasisiyahan sa pagganap ni Peggy sa pelikula. Anya, bilib siya sa star quality ni Peggy kung pag-uusapan ang paglabas ito sa silver screen. At sa kabila ng tagumpay na nakamit na ni Peggy ay hindi niya pisikal na tinanggap ang parangal dahil nagpapahinga siya kasama ang kanyang fur parents sa isang vacation.
Plano ng isang kumpanya sa London na gawing pinakamalaking tourist attraction ang Blitz Shelter Tunnel. Si Sara Alcantara para sa mga detalye.
Target ng isang kumpanya na maging pinakamalaking tourist attraction ang Blitz Shelter Tunnel ng London. Ang mga tunnels na ito ay mahalaga sa kasaysayan ng Britain dahil ito ay itinayo noong World War II para maging shelter ng mga Londoners laban sa bombings ng Germany. Aayusin ito, pagagandahin at bibigyang buhay para mailapit sa publiko ang cultural at historical significance nito.
Our main aim is to respect and restore these tunnels and bring them back to life for what they represent for Britain. So there were 43,000 people that died during that time, so it's a memorial, a story for those people. But given the vast space we've got here, they're over a mile long, we can certainly reactivate the deepest licensed bar, which would be the deepest licensed bar in a city, and we can open up as an arts and culture section. So it's a very large space for up to 3 million people a year.
Bukod sa gagawin itong museum, ay sinabi ni Angus Murray, Chief Executive ng London Tunnel, na magkakaroon din ng exhibition at entertainment space sa Blitz Tunnels. Alam niyo ba na ang mga tunnels na ito na matatagpuan sa ilalim ng Holborn Central London ay 1.6 kilometer ang haba at kasyang-kasya ang double-decker buses dito? Isa pang trivia, ginawa ito ng mga Londoners noon sa pamamagitan ng paghuhukay gamit ang sarili nilang mga kamay. Noong binomba ng mga eroplano ng Germany ang London noong late 1940s, ay sa underground train stations at sa mga tunnels nagtatago ang mga tao para sila ay maligtas.
So these are a network of tunnels that were built in the 1940s and then expanded in the 1950s. Basically the deep level shelter to protect British citizens against the bombing of what we know as the London Blitz.
Naging spy headquarters din ng London Shelter Tunnel noong taong 1944 nang magtrabaho si Ian Fleming, ang author ng James Bond novels, para sa Naval Intelligence ng Britain. Naniniwala tuloy ang marami na ang London Shelter Tunnel ang naging inspirasyon ni Fleming para sa Q Branch, ang headquarters kung saan nanggaling ang high-tech at special equipment ni James Bond.
Ian Fleming would have been in these tunnels in early 1944, leading up to D-Day, and so along with the Special Operations Executive, which was a branch of MI6 which was in these tunnels, therefore Ian Fleming was in these tunnels associated with Special Operations Executive, or the Special Operations Executive, and that inspired him to create Q Branch from James Bond. So this truly is the location of Q Branch from James Bond.
30 meters down ng tunnels ay makikita ang underground citadel. Ito ay isang maze na naglalaman ng mga lumang generator, pipes at kinakalawang na bolts. May mga natira pang kable, dial, switches at levers na ginamit noon ng British military. Ayon kay Murray, aabot sa 120 million pounds ang magagastos para sa restoration ng tunnels. Umaasa siya na aabot ng 3 milyong tao kada taon ang bibisita sa tunnels. Sa ngayon ay plano ni Murray na gawing 30 pounds ang bawat ticket sa Blitz tunnels. Bubuksan ani ang bagong Blitz Shelter Tunnel ng London sa taong 2027 o 2028. Sara Alcantara, London Bureau para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Parang pabor ako dyan. Ikaw ba, Rikki, pabor ka ba dun sa mga pag-restore or muling bubuhayin yung mga historical or mga heritage sites?
Oo naman, lalo na history lover talaga ako.
Tama.
So actually, mayroon na tayo, hindi na tayo kailangan lumayo, maglo-London pa ba tayo? Diyan lang po sa San Juan City, meron pong ni-restore, it's called the El Deposito. It was a reservoir built in 1882, if I'm not mistaken. And very historical siya kasi doon nagsimula ang revolusyon sa Pilipinas noong 1800s. Ayan. So, sige, tignan natin, baka marami pa tayo diyang mga hidden tunnels or mga historical places, diba?
For sure, meron yan. Kailangan mo lang talagang alamin. Tsaka, yun na nga, gawa ng paraan na muling mabuhay. At gawing kapakipakinabang yun pala, diba?
At saka maganda rin alam ng mga kabataan ngayon kung ano ba yung mga relevance itong mga lugar na ito. Ayan, yung sa San Juan po, napaka-importante yan dahil dyan nga, sabi nila, dyan daw talaga nagsimula ang himagsikan noong 1800s. Ayan. At walang bayad. Eh, dito may bayad dito.
Tsaka hindi ka naman nanganganib dahil lang binisita mo. Iba na ang panahon natin ngayon.
Ito po, kalain nyo, Monday na, no? So, I hope you have a happy Monday, everybody. At tandaan na mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, narito kami para maghatid ng balita saan mang dako na mundo. Muli ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki Alagao Flores. Ito po ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman po sa iba pang mga balitang nangyari rin sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Rikki. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for Net25 World News. On tonight's headlines. First, a terrifying attack at a Pennsylvania hospital has left a police officer and the gunman dead after a hostage situation.
When he came out, Mr. Diogenes Archangel Ortiz came out holding at gunpoint a member of the UPMC staff who was also had her hands tied with the aforementioned zip ties. Holding her at gunpoint, coming out into the hallway, the officers, left with no recourse, did open fire and did shoot and kill Diogenes Archangel Ortiz.
Japan and the Philippines are set to further deepen their defense ties amid an increasingly severe security environment in the Indo-Pacific. That according to Japanese Defense Minister General Nakatani, announcing it today during a high-level meeting in Manila with Philippine Defense Minister Gilberto Teodoro. At an annual forum with top government and military officials, President Volodymyr Zelensky made a bold declaration. Answering questions from the media, he said he's prepared to step down if it remains if it means securing peace in Ukraine.
If it's about peace in Ukraine and you really want me to leave my position, I am ready to do that in exchange for peace. Secondly, I can exchange it for NATO membership, if there is such an opportunity. I'll do it immediately without a long conversation about it. I am focused on Ukraine's security today and not in 20 years. I don't plan to be in power for decades. Therefore, that's my aim and my dream.
And the news starts now. First, a terrifying attack at a Pennsylvania hospital has left a police officer and the gunman dead after a hostage situation in the intensive care unit. Take a look. Terror struck UPMC Memorial Hospital in York County when an armed man entered carrying zip ties and took multiple hostages in the ICU. Hospital workers were seen running for their lives as police responded to the emergency. York County District Attorney Tim Barker describes how the incident began.
Between 10:35 a.m., approximately that time, and 11:13 a.m., an incident occurred here at UPMC Memorial Hospital that involved an individual by the name of Diogenes Archangel Ortiz. His date of birth 11/4/75. This individual entered the hospital and he entered carrying with him a bag that did include a handgun and zip ties. That becomes important for what he did later on. He went straight to the ICU, and in the ICU, this individual went and held hostage members of the UPMC staff. In total, he wound up discharging his firearm and struck 3 members of the UPMC staff. One was a doctor who was grazed, the other was a nurse and a custodian who are in stable condition at this time.
The situation escalated when police arrived. Barker explains.
When he came out, Mr. Diogenes Archangel Ortiz came out holding at gunpoint a member of the UPMC staff who was also had her hands tied with the aforementioned zip ties. Holding her at gunpoint, coming out into the hallway, the officers, left with no recourse, did open fire and did shoot and kill Diogenes Archangel Ortiz. During the course of the armed confrontation that was caused by Mr. Archangel Ortiz, there were 3 officers who were struck.
In the exchange of gunfire, Officer Andrew Duarte of the West York Police Department made the ultimate sacrifice. 2 other officers were wounded but are in stable condition. The district attorney emphasized the officers' heroic actions.
Reviewing all of that evidence, it is absolutely clear and beyond any and all doubt that the officers were justified in taking their action and using deadly force. Quite frankly, they needed to use deadly force because by doing so, they potentially saved even more lives, even as they lost one of their own.
Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro visited the hospital after the shooting, praising Officer Duarte and his fellow officers for their courage in saving lives. The district attorney concluded with an emotional appeal.
Tonight, we pray for this community, and especially for the Duarte family. A life cut short, but a life of service and meaning and purpose. And I offer my blessings and that of my wife, Lori, our First Lady, our family, and the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We pray for strength for this community. We pray for healing for this community. And we pray for the family of Officer Duarte.
And here's the latest from the Indo-Pacific. Japan and the Philippines are ramping up their defense cooperation in response to growing security concerns in the region. Japanese Defense Minister General Nakatani and his Filipino counterpart, Gilberto Teodoro, met in Manila to discuss regional security, including the ongoing maritime tensions in the East and South China Seas.
We were able to share the recognition with Defense Secretary Teodoro that we will further deepen cooperation among Japan, Australia, and the Philippines, as well as Japan, the United States, and the Philippines. Japan is determined to continue to do its utmost to strengthen Japan-Philippines ties and to ensure peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region.
The promotion of a free and open Indo-Pacific, a free and open South China Sea and East Sea, in accordance with generally accepted principles of international law, is a shared initiative. And we share also the common cause of resisting any unilateral attempt to reshape the global order without the consent of the participants of this global order and the attempt to reshape international law by force.
At an annual forum with top government and military officials, President Volodymyr Zelensky, speaking in his native tongue, made a bold declaration. Answering questions from the media, he said he's prepared to step down if it means securing peace in Ukraine. Now, Zelensky also expressed a desire to see former President Trump play a more active role for Ukraine, not just as a mediator between Kiev and Moscow. His remarks come on the eve of the third anniversary of the war between Ukraine and Russia. Mathay likeness for more.
This painful anniversary has been marked in a number of ways. Special lighting illuminated the cemetery in the western Ukrainian city of Lviv on Sunday in a tribute to the victims of the war on the eve of the anniversary. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says more than 45,000 people have died in the fighting so far. In Brussels, European Union buildings were lit up in the colors of the Ukrainian flag on Sunday. Thousands of protesters gathered in Paris, chanting anti-Putin and anti-Trump slogans. And protesters in support of Ukraine rallied in Toronto, Canada, that event drawing hundreds of demonstrators. Meanwhile, in Kyiv, Zelensky told a news conference that Ukraine needs the U.S. to be a partner, not a mediator between Kyiv and Moscow. And Zelensky has conditions if Ukraine grants the U.S. access to its minerals in return for future support in the war. He says the deal should include American troops being deployed in Ukraine as a security measure.
У мене логіка тоді була наступна. Якщо ви вважаєте, що економічна угода є частиною
My logic was the following.
то чому вам
If you believe that the economic deal is a part of the security guarantees, then why can there not be your boots on the ground where you have your business interests? Isn't it logical? To me it seems logical. It seems to me so. I said that to the United States, but we did not discuss it yet as we did not receive their response.
Responding to U.S. President Trump's remarks last week that he's a dictator and should call an election, Zelensky said he wouldn't hesitate to step down in return for peace in Ukraine.
If it's about peace in Ukraine and you really want me to leave my position, I am ready to do that in exchange for peace. Secondly, I can exchange it for NATO membership if there is such an opportunity. I'll do it immediately without a long conversation about it. I am focused on Ukraine's security today and not in 20 years. I don't plan to be in power for decades. Therefore, that's my aim and my dream.
The country also heard from its military spy chief, who says Russia is getting large-scale support from North Korea. Kirillo Budanov says as well as thousands of troops, North Korea is supplying about half the bullets Moscow needs to keep the military's guns loaded.
Не можна в цьому аспекті не згадати про їх вже тепер. I need to mention their Russian strategic ally North Korea, which covers 50% of all frontline needs in ammunition. 50% of ammunition at the frontline originate from North Korea. They also started large-scale supply of weapons, including 170mm self-propelled howitzers and 240mm multiple rocket launch systems. Та 240-мм реактивну систему залпового вогню.
As the war enters its fourth year, the fighting continues to take a toll on civilians. Ordinary Ukrainians, people trying to survive in their war-torn country, express feelings like these. This woman, she's a neurology nurse. Her name is Maria Pelchakovska. She says she just wants to be able to wake up without hearing air raid sirens. She says she wants the occupiers to leave Ukrainian land. Hennady Yudavenko is a war vet, lost a leg in the fighting, and he fears soon after a ceasefire, the whole nation will perish. But he says he'll continue to fight to liberate Ukraine. Kharkiv firefighter Turgat Abbasov says even after the fighting ends, he will not be calm. He says that's because the Russians are close and there's no trust in them anymore. And that lack of trust is why there is unlikely to be a quick end to this war. Ukraine and other European countries fear that if Russia succeeds even a little bit in this conflict, its aggression will continue with invasions of other nations. Thomas I. Likeness, Net 25 World News.
And tonight we dive into the evolving tactical dynamics of the Russia-Ukraine war. A distinguished panel moderated by Colonel Scott Pence, U.S. Army Fellow, and featuring Ukrainian parliamentarian Colonel Roman Kostenkos, explored critical battlefield developments. In an exclusive segment, former U.S. Army Europe Commander, Lieutenant General Ben Hodges, highlights what he sees as Ukraine's biggest strategic challenge.
The biggest challenge, I think, is confidence in Ukraine, because they've got to be wondering, what is the United States going to do? What is the rest of Europe going to do? Or are they going to be traded away for some grand deal? Or are we going to commit to helping them either defeat Russia, which is entirely within our ability to do if we have the political will, or are we going to force them to accept some kind of a settlement for the sake of peace, to stop the fighting as we hear. So the biggest challenge for them is to help convince the Trump administration and other European governments why it's in our interest to help them to defeat Russia.
But what about North Korea? Lieutenant General Hodges doesn't hold back on that front either.
That's the North Koreans are probably the most unwoke army in the world, and yet they are being hammered by Ukrainians. I've always thought that the best organizations and best institutions and the best units were learning organizations that were able to adapt quickly and could learn and put those lessons into effect. And I don't see that in the culture of the North Koreans, and frankly, in the average Russian unit, I don't see it either, which is not to say that every Ukrainian unit is flawless and perfect, far from it. But I think that the Russians never intended to use the North Koreans for anything except as additional fodder that can do a gazillion push-ups. So I'm wondering, how does the North Korean government look at this? As long as the Russians are paying them whatever the agreement was, money or technology or cheap energy, whatever it is, as long as that keeps coming. I don't imagine Kim Jong-un is going to shed a lot of tears for soldiers that are killed. But we know so little about what goes on inside North Korea. I can't predict how this goes in the future. I do see opportunity for us, though. What a great time to launch a big SNAP exercise in South Korea with the U.S. and ROK Army troops and others to remind Kim Jong-un about the southern half of the peninsula. And so the more ammunition he sends away, the more troops he sends away to Russia, increases his vulnerability. Not that we're ever going to attack, but he should be worried that we might. And I think at the strategic level, I hope and I imagine that people are considering, how can we do that? That would also, by the way, undermine what Russia is doing.
The U.S. and Ukraine are working on a deal that could give America valuable rights to Ukraine's rare minerals. President Trump weighed in And here's what he had to say.
We got to talk about something very important, the war between Russia and Ukraine. People are being killed, mostly young men, mostly Russian and Ukrainian men, at levels you've never seen before, thousands of people a week. And I've spoken to President Putin, and I think that thing is going to end, but it's got to end. It's a horrible, horrible thing to watch. I'm dealing with President Zelensky. I'm dealing with President Putin. I'm trying to get the money back that, or secured, because, you know, Europe has given $100 billion. The United States has given $350 billion because we had a stupid, incompetent president and administration. 350. But here's worse. Europe gave it in the form of a loan. They get their money back. We gave it in the form of nothing. So I want them to give us something for all of the money that we put up. And I'm going to try and get the war settled, and I'm going to try and get all that death ended. So we're asking for rare earth and oil, anything we can get.
The U.S. is seeking payback for the billions in aid it sent Ukraine since the war with Russia began 3 years ago. Meanwhile, Ukraine is hoping for continued American support as part of a broader effort to end the conflict.
Але у мене питання, скажіть логічне, і мені на нього ніхто не може відповісти.
I have a logical question to which no one can give me a response.
Продають зброю Ізраїлю.
When the United States of America sell weapons to Israel, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, do they earn 100% of profit? It's all right, I simply want a dialogue with President Trump. I think I am right to want a dialogue.
Я хочу діалогу.
I don't sign a document that 10 generations of Ukrainians will pay for.
Будуть виплачувати 10 поколінь українців.
His comments come after a week of sharp exchanges, including his rejection of a Trump proposal that would have given the U.S. 50% ownership of Ukraine's rare earth minerals like lithium, titanium, and graphite, essential for things like electric car batteries and wind turbines. Not long ago, Trump called Zelensky a dictator and said Ukraine should never have started the war. Remember, this all started when Russia invaded in 2022. But now tensions between the two leaders appear to be slowly easing. And in Trump's words,
we get nothing, so we're getting our money back. We're going to get our money back because it's not fair. It's just not fair. And we will see, but I think we're pretty close to a deal, and we better be close to a deal.
the Kremlin said today that Russia was pressing France over security measures following explosions at the Russian consulate building in Marseille, which Moscow said appeared to be an act of terrorism. 2 projectiles were thrown at the perimeter wall of Russia's consulate in the southern French port city of Marseille on Monday, one of which exploded, according to a French security source. It wasn't immediately clear if the projectiles cleared the wall. BFM TV said the projectiles were Molotov cocktails and that they landed in the consulate's garden. Russia demanded a full French investigation and said the incident looked like an act of terrorism, according to its state news agency, TASS. No one was injured, the security source said. Consulate staff were kept indoors and police set up a security perimeter around the consulate. The incident in the southern French city took place on the 3rd anniversary of the Russia-Ukraine war. Conservative victory and historic surge by the far right have reshaped German politics today as Friedrich Merz heads toward the chancellorship, while the anti-immigrant AfD party claims second place, results that could reshape both domestic policy and Germany's role in Europe.
The conservative Christian Democrats won Germany's national election on Sunday, putting leader Friedrich Merz, who has no prior experience in office, on track to become chancellor of Europe's largest economy. And in a historic showing, the far-right Alternative for Germany, or AfD, won roughly 20% of the vote, marking the first time since World War II that a far-right party has come in second in a German national election.
Wir haben ein historisches Ergebnis eingefahren.
We have achieved a historic result. We have never been stronger in the federal government. We have become the second strongest force as alternative for Germany. And we have now firmly established ourselves as a People's Party.
Und ich muss eins sagen, unsere Hand.
And I have to say one thing. Our hand will always be outstretched for government participation. To implement the will of the people, the will of Germany. We are ready to participate in government. Our hand is always outstretched to implement the will of the people.
Immer ausgestreckt, den Willen des Volkes umzusetzen.
Chancellor Olaf Scholz's Social Democrats tumbled to third, his party's worst showing since the Second World War.
Last time, the election result was better and I had responsibility for that. This time, the election result is bad, and so I also bear responsibility for this result. I would like to say that at this point, for me, therefore, it is first and foremost important to congratulate the CDU/CSU, Christian Democratic Union/Christian Social Union parties, and the CDU chairman Friedrich Merz from here on the mandate to form the next government. Congratulations on the election result. / no cooperation with the extreme right. The Social Democratic Party stands by this clear course, and we hope and believe that all others will continue to show this attitude in the coming years.
Merz inherits an ailing economy, a society split over migration, and a country whose security is caught between a confrontational U.S. and an assertive Russia and China. His victory capped a campaign season roiled by a series of violent attacks and interventions by members of the U.S. Trump administration. They included Vice President J.D. Vance and tech billionaire Elon Musk, who showed forceful solidarity for the anti-migrant AfD, which has also criticized Germany's culture of Holocaust remembrance. Merz, who has shifted conservatives to the right, conditionally supports equipping Ukraine with longer-range Taurus missiles and sees Europe as firmly anchored in NATO. But he is heading into what are likely to be lengthy coalition talks without a strong negotiating hand. While his CDU and CSU sister party in Bavaria emerged as the largest bloc, it scored its second worst post-war result. It remains unclear whether Merz will need one or two partners to form a majority, but a three-way coalition would likely be much more unwieldy, hampering Germany's ability to show clear leadership. All of the mainstream parties have ruled out working with the AfD.
The main thing is to create a government in Germany that is capable of acting as quickly as possible, with a good parliamentary majority. Because, dear friends, the world out there is not waiting for us, and it is not waiting for lengthy coalition talks and negotiations. We must now quickly regain our ability to act so that we can do the right thing at home, so that we can be present in Europe again, so that the world realizes that Germany is being governed reliably again. That's what the conservatives stand for, that's what we stand for, and that's what I personally stand for.
If Merz is unable to form a coalition quickly, that could leave outgoing Chancellor Scholz in a caretaker role for months, delaying urgently needed policies to revive Europe's largest economy after 2 consecutive years of contraction and as companies struggle against global rivals. It would also create a leadership vacuum in the heart of Europe, even as it deals with a host of challenges, including Trump's threat of a trade war and attempt to fast-track a ceasefire deal for Ukraine without European involvement. Trump on social media Sunday hailed the election result as a, quote, great day for Germany, saying that its citizens, quote, got tired of the no common sense agenda, especially on energy and immigration.
And the news continues here on Net 25. We'll be right back.
Abangan niyo po kami tuwing Sabado at Linggo 8 to 9 a.m. Dito lang yan sa Net 25. Ito ang tahanan. Ako po si Ate Sherilyn.
President Trump is spending his first weekend in the nation's capital under his new administration as sweeping changes unfold at the Pentagon with the removal of several top military leaders. Take a look. In an unprecedented move, President Trump has dismissed several of the nation's high-ranking military officials, including four-star General Charles C.Q. Brown, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Trump called Brown a fine gentleman and an outstanding leader, but provided no reason for the dismissal. The president has nominated three-star Air Force Lieutenant General Dan Kane to replace General Brown, who served as a highly decorated fighter pilot with over 40 years of service. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth addressed the changes, and here's what he said.
And I have a lot of respect for C.Q. Brown. I got to know him over the course of a month. He's an honorable man, not the right man for the moment. A small group of insulated officers who perpetuate the status quo. Well, guess what? Status quo hasn't worked very well at the Pentagon. It's time for fresh blood. So we're going to open up those positions to a broader set and a merit-based process to find the best lawyers possible to lead the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. There's nothing about purging. There's nothing about illegal. We've made clear from the beginning, Shannon, the military will be apolitical with a fidelity to the Constitution, prepared to close with and destroy our enemies. One thing people haven't noted yet, which I'll share, is we're going to take, those are three-star billets, but traditionally they've been two-star billets over time. There's been lots of inflation in the ranks over time. We're going to return those billets to two-star billets. We're going to shrink the size of our headquarters units.
The shakeup also included the removal of Navy Admiral Lisa Franchetti and Air Force Vice Chief of Staff James Life. Meanwhile, the Pentagon, as the government's largest employer, is preparing for significant staffing changes. At least 5,400 probationary employees are set to be terminated this week. President Trump addressed these broader government changes.
And I signed an order creating the Department of Government Efficiency. You probably haven't heard of it. Which is now waging war on government waste, fraud, and abuse. And Elon is doing a great job. He's doing a great job.
The administration is also calling on Tesla CEO Elon Musk to take a more aggressive approach to federal cuts. Federal employees have received emails requiring them to submit 5 bullet points detailing their weekly accomplishments, with responses due Monday evening. Shogun FX historical epic set in Imperial Japan claimed the prestigious Best Ensemble in a Drama TV Series award at Sunday's Screen Actors Guild Awards ceremony.
No saying back where we want the papacy.
Vatican succession drama Conclave took home top film prize at the SAG Awards Sunday. It's a sign the movie's picking up steam ahead of next week's Academy Awards. Star Ralph Fiennes accepted the award for the cast while celebrating community in film as in life.
People have spoken so eloquently and movingly about community. I don't want to add more, but I think we do recognize the supreme importance of it in our work and in the world. We were a huge admiration to the other ensembles we've seen tonight. I think that's what we're celebrating, is our community. Thank you very much indeed.
Meanwhile, Timothée Chalamet scored Best Actor for his portrayal of a young Bob Dylan in biopic A Complete Unknown.
And I know we're in a subjective business, but the truth is, I'm really in pursuit of greatness. I know people don't usually talk like that, but I want to be one of the greats. I'm inspired by the greats. I'm inspired by the greats here tonight. I'm as inspired by Daniel Day-Lewis, Marlon Brando, and Viola Davis as I am by Michael Jordan and Michael Phelps, and I want to be up there.
And Demi Moore took home Best Actress for her starring role in body horror The Substance.
You know, there's this idea that what we believe is so much more powerful than what we think. And the saying that, you know, I'll believe it when I see it. But the reality is, when I believe it, I will see it. And I am so grateful for this. Thank you. That little girl who didn't believe in herself. There's just, the words are kind of beyond me. So I'm just gonna have to just say thank you. Thank you so much.
Top TV honors went to samurai historical drama Shogun, while Selena Gomez accepted the top comedy award for the cast of Only Murders in the Building.
Wait, we never win. This is so weird. Okay, well, Marty and Steve aren't here because, you know, they don't really care.
And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Net 25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you all for joining us. Good night.